Hi there, and welcome back to another episode of Chat EbT. I'm your host, Mohamed Ebrahim Tayob. We have another phenomenal guest with us today. She's made a mark on the business industry and entrepreneurial world, and she did it before her 30th birthday. She was named as Forbes 30 Under 30. Please help me welcoming Mas'ooda Varachia. Mas'ooda, thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So, Mas'ooda, this is, I was looking obviously through the research that we did on your resume, let's call it that. And obviously we see all these remarkable things. So CEO of your very own company, you have your own bakery brand, you have a laser clinic, and just to top it off, you do modeling in your spare time. So I guess my first question, and I'm sure everybody's dying to hear, why are you so lazy?
Well, no, it is so strange that you would say that, hey. I think that the most important thing in today's time is finding the balance in juggling all these different things. I think CEO or not, I always believe that people need to have a side hustle, or they need to be keeping busy. That's what keeps us young, and that's what keeps us going. I won't lie, it has been quite a challenge, because obviously you've got to integrate your social life, your family life into all of that. But if it's the one thing I can say that keeps me very grounded in going about all the things that I do, is definitely prayer. The reason I'm sitting across you having this conversation is only because of my maker. And I'm very grateful for everything that I've managed to accomplish, by the grace of God. Mm-hmm. And I would say that prayer is the one thing that keeps me very balanced, but it's also a great combination of realizing that you need structure, you need to prioritize, time management, and then also surrounding yourself with people that are so supportive and loving and just grounded themselves, which makes for a very nice combination. And look, it's not easy. Sometimes when I think about it, it's like I'll have a crazy day at work and I've got so many deadlines, but at the same time, I know that I've got to be on set. So as fun as it seems, I'll be sitting in a chair having a lady doing my hair and makeup, but I'm like typing away.
Yeah.
Or I'll be sitting on a call while someone's trying to do my lipstick. And it is quite challenging. But I think when you are passionate about what you do and you absolutely love it, work doesn't feel like work, if that makes sense.
No, it completely does. So just to get a little bit of the behind the scenes of the story. So you started out in psychology. I understand that you did a degree in psychology, right?
Yes.
Talk us through this journey of starting out in psychology and all your process into getting where you are today with this phenomenal resume that you have.
Okay, so I always say this to a lot of people. The reason why I studied psychology is because I actually wanted to help people. And in my mind, and in a lot of people's minds, the only way you can help people is if you're a doctor or you're a nurse or, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I always wanted to be someone that I needed when I was younger. And hence, that's how the psych degree came about. I always think that it's so important to understand the psychology of people, because it's not just about the way they think, but also the way they behave under pressure. And I think from a business aspect, that's really helped me, because when you're sitting in a boardroom, you've got to also learn how to not just read the room, but read people. And yeah. I think that's where the psychology degree has been phenomenal. But I think most importantly, it was teaching me how to lead with empathy. And from psych, when I did my honors in psychological counseling, I had said to myself, okay, now I'm a bit tired of studying. Mm-hmm. It's been a couple of years. I want to gain work experience. But what nobody tells you is that people want someone with experience already, yes. Like 5 to 8 years. And I'm a fresh graduate. I have zero experience. And this is where the power of learnerships comes into play. So I actually got scouted to go into a learnership program in telecommunication. And at the time, you can imagine, coming from an Indian family, it's about, don't you think you've got this degree? You should be earning a certain amount. You cannot be living off a stipend. And in my head, it was never about the money. In my head, it was always about, if I can get my foot in the door somewhere, I know that I can make this work, because I know that I have the right attitude, meaning I'll always go above and beyond. And when I say that, I mean, if you say to me, okay, listen, the only work we've got for you right now is I need you to clean the storeroom, I need you to bring coffees, I would do it. Because the thing is, if you start doing something well, people start to take note of you. And from there, I went into a learnership program. It was already in the tech space. It was telecommunications, where I learned so much about behind the scenes networking. At the time, I was very ignorant. So I was like, man, these people are going to put me into a call center. So I had to also go and do my research. From there, I got scouted by Nokia, and that was an entire game changer because I learned so much. Because at the time, I was learning about 5G networks. We were talking about the fourth industrial revolution, and these were all new terms to me, but I got introduced to the world of tech and I started to love it. And I was like, man, I think this is where I'm meant to be. And I learned a lot while I was there.
So from getting scouted to now CEO of Raven Technologies, explain to us what happened there.
So initially I was working in one of our sister companies, Got Game, and I mean, they focus on a lot of SME development and that sort of thing. And that was an amazing experience as well, because I got to interact and work with a lot of SMEs. And I mean, when I joined, they had just come out of a COVID period. So, I mean, a lot of these guys went from earning in the thousands to then earning in the hundreds. And working with them and going through that process of actually seeing them grow and get back on their feet through the workshops that were being facilitated was amazing. And I feel so grateful that I could have been part of that journey, because it taught me a lot of what would I do in that situation, you know? And I think transitioning from there into Raven Technologies, I will say to any person starting a business, is never easy and you are never going to be ready. But that's when you know you need to start. Is that sometimes you need to be thrown into the deep end in order to learn what you are made of. And that's the process that I went through, and that's how I learned. And you know, I'm the kind of person, I always want to see the bigger picture. So you've got to show me what it's going to look like and then let me work towards it. But I went into an environment that was completely the opposite. So I would get given bits and pieces like a puzzle. And a year later, when I looked at all those pieces, I didn't realize that they'd all come together and they had painted this beautiful picture. Is that sometimes you don't need to have all the details and all the information. You just have to have the ambition, the drive, the passion. And when you work towards something, you can actually see it come together. And like I said, when I look back now, it feels like yesterday. But at the time, I was like, man, I don't know everything. I'm still learning. What if I'm messing up? And you know, the best bit of advice that I constantly got from the people around me is to fail fast and fail forward. It is okay to make mistakes. It is okay to go into a client meeting and maybe sometimes say the wrong things. Nobody's going to kill you for it. You can always apologize, but you're going to learn from it so you don't do it again. And I think it's been an incredible journey.
No, amazing. It sounds phenomenal. One of the things I actually want to chat to you about. So we spoke a little bit about, you used the word side hustle, which I think is brilliant, right? So you've obviously gone into these different entrepreneurial ventures. We mentioned, the biscuit company. We mentioned the laser. How did you? And the reason why I'm asking is I think today time management is such a important aspect of everybody's life, right? And it's something that people struggle with on a continuous basis. So speak to us a little bit. You also mentioned the word juggling, right? Speak to us, how do you juggle all these different entities, your day job, your side hustles, and your time management process?
Okay. So to break it down, each side hustle has its own importance, and they weren't all started at the same time. So I think that's another thing. When people see that, they're like, oh my God, I can't do all these things all at once. But the idea is not to do them all at once. Each of these amazing ventures were born during different time periods. So for example, if I think about What the Biscuit, that started before I actually started working, because I was so tired of sending my CV out to, I think PNet must have been so sick of me, because I was sending out CVs every single day. And nobody was getting back to me. And I was like, I just want to do something. I don't just want to be sitting at home and studying some more, and then I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's how What the Biscuit came about, because my mom is a phenomenal baker. And that's where I learned the tricks of the trade.
Yeah.
And so she taught me how to bake. And from there, we were like, okay, why don't we start our own little business from home? Nothing too complicated. And sadly, it was slow in the beginning. And this is another thing I want to say to people. There is no such thing as instant gratification unless you're playing a video game. It doesn't exist. You have to put in the work. Some of the most successful companies, it didn't just kick off within the year. I mean, if I think about Coke, for example, they sold, I think 25 bottles in their first year.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
So I always use that as a reference point, because not everything is going to be successful the minute you try and kick it off. But, like I said, with hard work, with the grace of God, eventually my mom and I managed to build up our clientele. And I mean, up until today, now my mom's at the point where I've told her, you've got to be the operations manager. You've got to run this thing, because I've obviously got a full-time job. I've got other things that I'm juggling at the moment. But mind you, I know that, for example, if I've got orders going out on a Saturday morning, on a Friday, I will make sure that I cut my day in half, that by latest 2:00, I've left the office. I've put some time aside to say, I need to go and get my ingredients. I need to start baking towards the evening, wrap it up in the morning. I need to be up at a certain time, pack my orders. They need to go out. So in terms of time management, that's how I kind of rework my schedule.
And it's an unfortunate thing that in 2025 we're still actually talking about this, but it is unfortunately the truth is that there is sort of more challenges for women in business or breaking into businesses. Talk to us a little bit about some of the challenges that you've had to face in this corporate environment that you've gone into, and how you've managed to overcome some of those.
Okay. So there's two elements to it. The one is more of a personal element, and the other one is obviously from a business point of view. So I'd say from a family element, obviously, I come from a very close community, very tight-knit community, and obviously at a certain age you're expected to get married and have kids, and there's that timeline that's now drawn out for you as to how things need to play out. And obviously once you pass a certain age, it becomes this ticking time bomb where people expect more of you. They're like, okay, there's no reason for you to give your career so much of attention. It's time that you focus on, finding the right spouse. Your biological clock is ticking. You need to consider having kids. So you get that kind of pressure on a personal level where you then don't have as much support, because then everybody starts talking and your family is like, okay, no, this one's daughter and that one's son got married. It's about time, it's that kind of conversation.
It's a realistic thing, unfortunately.
It's a realistic thing. And I'm sure a lot of listeners will sit back and they'll smile, because they've obviously gone through this, or, are going through it, that kind of thing. And that's when I realized that you don't always have the kind of support that you want. I'll give you an example. If I had to come home and say, I found someone, I'm getting married, in a year's time I'm having kids, I think I'd have everyone in my family like clapping loud, be like, yes, it's finally happening, versus me coming home and saying, guys, I'm actually the CEO of this organization, and then it's crickets. So unfortunately, I think from a personal perspective, it's very difficult navigating that, because you've almost got to have this rebel mindset and be like, okay, I need to drown out the noise and I need to listen to my own voice. So that was the one challenge. And then I think from a business point of view, like I said, I've been so fortunate. I've had great mentors. I've had people opening doors in all the right rooms. I've had people saying my name in all the right rooms. And like I said, it's little things, people supporting you, people believing that you actually have the ability to lead or to create something of greatness, And I think I'm going to say something that a lot of people will agree with, but a lot of people don't want to talk about in the workplace. I know that everyone talks about feminism and this whole gender equality thing, and, women need to lead. And I very much agree with that. But what people don't realize in the workplace, it's not men versus women, because I've experienced a lot of my male counterparts doing this and helping me. rise, in actually taking a step back and allowing me to take a step forward, even if it's just to say my piece or do a pitch. And I know it sounds like something very little, but it's something so significant and so important, because you realize that these are people that actually shift up and make space for you.
Wow.
The struggle in what I'm saying to you is that the biggest challenge in the workplace is actually your female counterparts.
Okay,
And
that's interesting.
yeah, so a lot of people preach, women empower women, we rise together kind of a thing. And it's beautiful when you say it, but it's actually very disappointing when you can't live it. And I think that has been my challenge. And I've spoken to so many incredible women who have experienced the exact same thing. Because initially I thought, man, that's just me. I'm the only one experiencing this. Am I the problem kind of a thing? But in a lot of work settings, you are always going to have the struggle where females are fighting females. When I say fighting, I don't mean physical, let's brawl, but there will always be that subtle conflict. And I struggle to understand why, because the truth is, I get that there's the scarcity mindset and it's difficult to shift from that. But the truth is, if you've managed to make it to the top as a successful woman, irrespective of what industry you are in or what sector you are in, you should be holding space for the next person to, even if it's to replace you or actually bypass where you are. I think the most important thing is for you to realize that nobody's competing with you. We make space for each other. We want to see each other grow, because my light might have been for the few people behind me, but the next person's light could be for a whole lot more. And so it has like a domino effect where we light the way for others. But if you stay like this here and you refuse to share the spotlight because you feel that it's all yours, you're basically condemning a youth of the next generation of successful leaders and game changers who actually want to make an impact. So I think that has been my biggest struggle. It's to actually identify it, to deal with it, and for me to understand that it's not my place to fight all of these battles and be an aggressive person. It's to make peace that this is how some people are, this is how I am. And in order for me to keep doing what I'm doing, in order for me to create an impact, I need to be an example. And I need to not be like that. So people have taught me what I don't want to be like, so that when I am given these types of platforms, I can safely say, I'm not just doing it for me, I'm doing it for the rest of the women behind me that want to stand next to me or move forward.
I think it's actually a brilliant outlook, because I don't think we hear that very often. And I think it'll come as a surprise to a lot of people. But as you mentioned it unfortunately does make sense.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's actually something that I've actually never thought about.
Yeah, I think when you're a woman in the industry, it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't matter whether you're in tech, engineering, mining, it doesn't make a difference, because every woman will experience the same thing. And like I said, irrespective of your age, you will experience it. So when you do come across incredible women that are supportive and that are driving the narrative of change and that are willing to hold your hand during that process, appreciate them and uplift them, because upliftment doesn't have an age limit.
I want to actually talk a little bit about your venture into modeling, right?
Okay.
We spoke a little bit about it when we chatted last week, and you told me that it was a bit of a challenge due to the fact that you struggled with low self-esteem, and to be able to make that jump was quite challenging.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things I found fascinating about that is, I think a lot of people won't say that about people that enter the modeling industry, that struggling with self-esteem issues, because obviously you need a lot of confidence to be able to be a model. But I think now that after you said that, I actually sat and thought about it, and it actually makes a lot of sense. Is that I'm sure that is quite a big challenge in the modeling industry.
The modeling industry is very competitive. It is, because you're meeting people from all walks of life, and these people are so beautiful, and that is intimidating, because you're like, man, I wish I had hair like that. I wish I had that height. I wish I dressed like this, So it's when that imposter syndrome kicks in. And so I started modeling in 2019, And I had a lot of people always telling me, no, why don't you model? Why don't you try this out? And in my head, I was like, no, I don't see myself there because I don't feel I have what it takes. And I struggled for the longest time until one day I had that nudge and someone said to me, no, you're gonna do this thing, do the application, try it out, see what it's like. And thankfully on my first try, I got accepted. And that's when my journey kicked off. But when a lot of people look at it, they think, oh, you go into it because, you want to be a famous person or you want to create that brand for yourself. But at the time, mine was less about glamour and mine was more about healing, because I knew what I battled as a kid, because you're always trying to shrink yourself. You're always trying to, fit in with everybody else. And sometimes what we don't understand is we dim our own sparkle to fit in with everybody else. But
definitely.
at the time you're growing, so you don't know. You just do these things. And the modeling industry, like I said, is very cutthroat, it's very competitive, but it's also a great networking experience because I got to meet makeup artists, photographers, directors and producers, and all of them are incredible people. But mind you, standing in front of the camera for the very first time was extremely terrifying, where you stand there and you now wonder, am I going to look the part? Do they think I look the part? And again, it comes down to consistency. The more you do it, the more comfortable you get. And that's when I started coming into myself a little bit more, where I realized that I've got to now take ownership of who I am. I've got to stand in my power, and I've got to understand that there's a reason why people will book me. There's a reason why people want me to model for their brands. If they didn't see it, then they wouldn't be hiring me. They wouldn't be asking me, to do the service. And like I said, it was a big shock to my system because, like I said, I didn't think that I was enough. But through the modeling, it actually helped me build momentum. It actually helped me understand that I'm comfortable doing this. I like who I am, what I look like, what God has made me. And I'm comfortable with that. And mind you, I've sat in rooms with like absolutely beautiful women. And I will sit there and I will feel so intimidated because I don't have what she has. What these people are definitely not gonna. And then again, it comes down to, you've got to be comfortable with yourself. You've got to take ownership of who you want to be. And it's okay not to be like the rest of the people. So, that has been an amazing learning curve for me.
What message would you like people to take away from this interview? And is there any specific group of people that you'd like that message directed towards?
Sure, that's a tough one because I've got so many things going through my head. I think that to all the young women listening, I would like to say that you are enough and everything that you bring to the table is of value. Don't let people tell you how to live your life. Don't let people put you into a box and make you feel that that is where you are meant to stay. Whether you are a baker, a coder, lawyer, mother, daughter, wife, all those things can coexist. You can be all those things all at once. So don't ever let people make you feel as though you are only meant to be one thing. And you don't need other people's permission to design a life that excites you.
Love that. Excellent. If you had to write an autobiography today, what would the title of that autobiography be? Yeah, so just hitting you with the hard questions.
That is a very interesting question. Okay, so I can't steal Nike's idea of just do it. I think I would love to call it Disrupt Her, capital HER.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I say that because I don't just want to disrupt the industry. I want to disrupt tradition and culture. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I say that because there are so many stereotypes and biases that need to be broken. And I think if you can show people that by one person you've kind of changed the narrative, or you are changing the narrative, you've given hope to at least one person that if she can do it, man, if she can do it, I can do it. And that's the message that I would love to send in that kind of title. Yeah.
It reminds me, I was working with this organization, and we were trying to come up with a slogan, and I came up with this that I still use a lot in a lot of things that I do. Let's rewrite the norm.
I love it. I think I'm going to steal that. I'll probably use it now as well. But I think it's so important that you even said that, because that's what we need to be doing. Is that sometimes when you say, I want to rewrite history, and it looks like something that's just like, it's impossible to do, you know? But when you're saying, let's rewrite the norm, it means you're starting at a grassroots level. It means you're taking it back home. You're taking it back to the office. So I like that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you so much for being a part of Chat EbT. It's been an absolute pleasure. And yeah, can't wait to see what you do in the future. I know we're going to be watching very, very closely, but we wish you all the success in all your entrepreneurship ventures. And yeah, looking forward to seeing what's next.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure being on the show, and I can't wait to see more of it.
Thank you. All right, that's our show. Thank you once again for joining us on another episode of Chat EbT. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and join the conversation. Until next time.